Chairman. Hello, Ms. Secretary. My question deals with the California Senate Bill 1, which gave $54 billion infrastructure package. It is intended to spur the state and local investment in this infrastructure. That past major bill of legislation was two-thirds vote of our legislation known as Senate Bill 1 provides $54 billion. Do you believe that this recently passed legislation passage, do you support it? It's the California's Senate bill.
Unfortunately, I'm not really up to speed on that. If I may ask to take a look, and we'll be more than glad to
Yes.
answer that question.
And my question deals with the lack of recognizing that the states that pass infrastructure packages, in addition to passing that bill, the County of Los Angeles passed 2 transportation sales tax measures since 2009, providing $120 billion over the next 40 years. The voters approved with 70% of the vote. The most recent sales tax was last year. I'm concerned that the majority of your plan significantly penalizes state and local governments that have raised revenues prior to January 2018. Not only do states and locals recently passed infrastructure legislation package score poorly when rated by your department, you limit these projects to qualify for only 5% or $5 billion out of the $100 billion of the new incentives projects program. Why would you want to preclude the potentially great projects that have non-federal revenues already lined up by responsible states and local governments? And don't you think your approach to incentivize project sponsors that have not passed revenue package in their states would slow project delivery?
I understand the question. The original intent was we wanted to recognize what states have done, but some states have done things 5 years ago, 7 years ago. It's still on the books. So do we take into account and just accept what they've done, let's say, in the last 10 years? That we thought was a little too much. So the current proposal has a 3-year look back. And if that is perhaps too long, again, we're flexible on that. I understand the point that you're making. For certain states that have taken the initiative, they've bitten the bullet, why should they be penalized? So the 3-year look back may not be ones that they agree with, so we can talk about that.
I would very much appreciate that, Ms. Secretary. Because your plan calls for 80% of a project cost to be from state and local sources, we should be allowing states and local governments to have local hire preference. When the residents of California are voting by 70% margin for the bill to raise their own taxes in order to support transportation projects, they assume they will be given preference in getting those jobs. Do you think states should be allowed to give preference to hiring their own taxpayers when they are paying for a vast majority of the project?
That's probably an issue that I've got to bring back. Again, there are 12 other agencies involved in this that I've got to go back to the White House and ask some of the other secretaries as well.
Well, would you please give us a clarification, because it's unfair if we're paying for the improvements and we cannot hire local preference.
I will take a look at that.
Thank you. Another issue is the Los Angeles County is preparing to host the nation and the world for the 2028 Olympic Games. And we would give us your commitment to make these critical transportation projects a priority, potentially convening a DOT working group among staff so that the needed infrastructure is in place to host a successful Olympic Games.
Well, your mayor has been in to see us and other agencies on this issue as well, so we look forward to working with him and also with you.
Very well, thank you. There's also, in regards to successfully hosting Olympics, one of the most critical projects is the Purple Line subway extension project, which will build a new station and subway line to serve UCLA, one of the Olympic venues, as well as a planned village for athletes. Can you please give us your commitment that you will look at it? do everything you can to support the project, ensure that built on time and ready for the Olympics?
You're not the only one that brought it up, as I mentioned. Your mayor has been very good about approaching us on this.
Very good.
So
Thank
we
you,
will
Ms.
look forward to working with you and the mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Mr. Gibbs is recognized.